Good evening. Welcome to the town board budget public hearing.
About a mile away.
And before we get to the agenda, I want to say if you're here to speak about something on this being proposed in the budget, first part of the meeting is the public hearing. So that's your opportunity to sign up and speak for 3 minutes about whatever topic it is. So if you're not signed up, please do. The sign up sheet is right here, and the town clerk, Sarah, can help you with that process. On to item number 2. Are there any changes to the agenda? If not, is there a motion?
Move to approve as presented.
Thank you, Kathleen.
Second.
Thank you, Megan. All in favor? Any opposed? Okay, with that, we'll move on to the public hearing. And Emily Bradford, our budget director, will lead this part of the session. And is there a motion to open the public hearing?
Move to open the public hearing.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Evelyn. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Sarah, I assume we have people signed up.
We have some takers. Also.
Okay, and I'll just read the names as they appear on the list, and if you're not ready and want to defer to later, that's fine. Amy Jensen. And I'll just say who's up next, and that is Michael Barrett. You're up next. Hi, welcome, and please step up to the microphone so we can all hear you.
Okay, and I'm facing you guys, right?
Yes.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Wonderful. Hi, thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Amy Jensen. I'm a resident in the Forest Ridge community, and I've been living in Hillsborough for 4 years. I wanted to come tonight. I'm going through a learning curve, and I want to thank Eric and his fabulous finance team for being very responsive to the questions that I posed and wanting to understand more about the budgetary process. What caught my attention was a very significant increase in the Hillsborough and Orange County property tax rates. And so that was kind of concerning to me. When I did my forecast, what I'm looking at is about a 13% increase this year in taxes. And overall, since I moved in 4 years ago, about a 20% increase. So that really caught my attention, caused some concern. And so I'm interested in finding out about, probably it's a little bit too late for me to come in and have anything to do with this year's rates. I want to make sure that I'm understanding going forward, what does the tax space look like and the needs of the community. And the other thing is to look at, I know there are a lot of exempt properties that are really benefiting a lot in Orange County for the services that are provided. And are there, has anybody done anything to explore that tax exempt status? And are there any ways to go to UNC and some of the other organizations to have, you know, some ways that they might do some sharing of the burden of paying for all the different services that that the residents are paying for. So thank you for your time and hearing my concerns.
Thank you very much. And after Mr. Barrett, we'll hear from Daniel Bullock.
Thank you for allowing me to speak. Michael Barrett. I live at 1237 Clanton. That's also Forest Ridge. I guess we're well represented tonight. I've lived here 6 years. I moved here from Cary and I'm retired. So this week you released a communication on Mr. Peterson's tax proposal. Very appreciative of that. It was very informative. It helped me understand, or at least get my head around what's going on here. Included was an example of a house and the effect of what the proposal would have in terms of the taxes on that house. And it was interesting because it says that the average increase in housing value in Hillsborough is 49%. And my house was going up 47%. So pretty good example for me. And that example showed, and I appreciate it, a 25% increase in the amount that that homeowner owning that house would pay if that proposal is accepted. What I also found interesting in this is it's not all due just to the increase in the tax rate. Some of it's affected by the revaluation. It says the revenue neutral rate of 45.6, and I've been assuming revenue neutral would also be relatively tax rate neutral, but it's not. I think the tax rate neutral is more around 35%. And I couldn't understand if my house is gonna go up the same as the average or near, in the revenue neutral rate, I should be getting about the same amount of taxes next year as this year, but I'm not. You're gonna see half of the 25% increase is due just to applying the revenue neutral rate. I couldn't get my head around that, and I've tried to reach out, and this only came out middle of the week, so there wasn't a whole lot of time to really get an answer to that. I even went across the street to my neighbor who is a professor of economics at UNC to help me understand this. We both concluded that there's something more going on here than, just a tax rate increase. And so into the budget, and I look at the cost for this community, the increase in cost for the town from this year to next year that's in that proposal. It's not that significant. I'm going from memory, it's like 17.4 to 17.9. I wouldn't drive a 25% increase. So what's going on here? Why isn't a revenue neutral rate equivalent to a tax rate neutral rate? And what I've concluded here is, well, we've been funding this municipality with more than just property tax and sales tax, but just flat in this proposal. We've been, I guess, getting additional funding outside of those sources. I guess through the COVID funds and other funds. And we've used those to continue operating our government. I don't know if that was the best decision to do, because those can go away very easily, and they are going away, aren't they? And now we're stuck with the costs. It strikes me that Hillsborough is a little bit like a kid in a candy store. We want to make this place an attractive place to live, and we want to make it affordable. But we have a limited amount of money, and we have a lot of projects we want to do. We want to fund that new facility up on North 86. It's needed. We want to build a train station. I mean, I'm really looking forward to that. Hop on there and go to Charlotte, watch a football game. But we want to do more than just a train station. We want to go beyond that and put some offices in for the town. We want to build a bridge walk. It's a very expensive trail. I'm a hiker. Sunday, I walked from my house down to downtown. That's wonderful that I can do that. But man, it's another project. How much time? One more minute?
30 seconds.
30 seconds. And we have other things we want. All I am asking here is that in our desire to make the town of Hillsborough attractive and affordable or attainable, however you want to do it, don't make it unaffordable for those of us, especially people that are retired. Don't make it unaffordable for us. Thank you.
Thank you. Daniel Bullock. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Daniel Bullock. I'm with the Affordable Housing Coalition of Orange County. We're an association of nonprofit housing developers, service providers, advocacy groups who work with local government partners to provide housing opportunities for all. And I'm here for the public hearing of the budget for a couple of reasons. In a time of federal funding uncertainty, we know it's adding a lot of burden to local funding sources, and hard decisions are being made. And so first, in that context, just here to say thank you for maintaining affordable housing as a priority in the budget, when I know there were some things that folks had to make hard choices about hearing the budget presentation last time. Just to say that our budget choices communicate the community's values, and we appreciate that prioritization. We would like to support the two proposed pilot programs, supporting home repair as well as emergency housing assistance. On the repair side, the current backlog of the county's repair coalition is still over 200 families in Orange County. From the last data I've seen, they're waiting on support from that program. That includes over 40 in Hillsborough. And that Hillsborough number represents over $300,000 in home repairs. And on the emergency housing pilot, an ounce of prevention really is worth a pound of cure. Being able to keep folks stably housed without any gap in shelter is ultimately far less destructive to folks' incomes, employment, family health outcomes, children's educational progress. And finally, with the increase in housing prices in general and tax and everything else, any support possible for affordable homeownership development opportunities, weatherization and age-in-place repairs, and property tax relief for long-time residents, particularly low-income residents, will help prevent folks who've lived in Hillsborough for decades, generations from facing displacement.
Thank you very much. And last on the list is Christina Smith. And as she's coming up to the podium, I want to say that if there's anybody else who wants to speak on any of these topics before we go into a conversation about the budget, this is your chance to sign up and be heard on any topic relating to the budget. Thank you. Go ahead.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Christina Smith. I've lived and worked in Orange County for 6 years now. I'm currently a dual degree student, studying both law and social work at UNC, and I'm also a member of the Orange County Affordable Housing Coalition. As Daniel mentioned, this is a time of federal funding uncertainty where municipal budgets are more important than ever. And so I'm here to speak on behalf of the importance of funding affordable housing and housing services, which are core services in our communities. For years, I worked at the Community Empowerment Fund in Chapel Hill, working with folks struggling to meet their basic needs, maintain their homes, and navigate living unhoused, including Hillsborough residents, people who continue to be pushed out of the place that they call home. And in this environment, it's more important than ever that Hillsborough continues to invest in core services to serve our most vulnerable residents, and also that housing remains a top priority. When people don't have a stable place to live, every other part of their life suffers, from their health to their employment to their education. And it's imperative that children and families in our communities have the means to put and keep a roof over their heads. And so, as Daniel said, we thank you for your continued investment in affordable housing, and we want to ask you to continue to do so by funding some key programs. So first, the home repair pilot and program with the county. Hillsborough is in a powerful position to help keep homeowners in their homes. Over the years, I've worked with hundreds of people seeking to find a safe, affordable home in Orange County. And I can't stress enough that it can take years and sometimes not happen at all. And so if Hillsborough can help keep people in their homes, avoiding the grueling housing search process by funding home repair funds, it must continue to do so to prevent further displacement and gentrification. And second, the emergency housing assistance program, at a time when you've heard, of course, property taxes have gone up considerably and rental prices continue to rise. More and more households are at risk of losing their homes, facing eviction, and becoming unhoused. And there are already too many people living unhoused in our county. And so I urge Hillsborough to continue its funding of emergency housing services that save lives and make all the differences as individuals are doing their best to get back on their feet. In essence, if you can't afford your rent, if you can't afford your mortgage or your property taxes, if you can't afford to fix a ramp or the roof over your head when you need to do so, your ability to thrive in every aspect of your life is threatened, and all people, including the people of Hillsborough, deserve the opportunity to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And before we close the public hearing, I just want to make triple sure there's no one else who would like to speak on any of these topics. When
I
we do
would.
the next section of the agenda.
I'd
we'll
like to
talk
speak.
section. I'm sorry,
Dr. Miles.
Dr. Miles, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, I hear you fine.
Okay, hang on 1 second. We're trying to adjust the volume so we can better hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Council.
So how is it?
Okay, I think we've got our microphones up as high as they will go. You have the floor.
Thank you, sir, and distinguished board. I'm Dr. Timothy Miles, the Executive Director of the Orange County Disability Awareness Council. And we've been in existence since 1999, working with the towns of Hillsborough, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and Orange County commissioners. Primarily, we're wanting to ask you in your budget review and planning that I'm sorry, excuse me for a second. I'm having some interference. Okay, our mission is getting to the core of our mission is to promote equity, inclusion, self-efficiency for individuals with disabilities. And that also includes seniors and veterans and all who are underserved And this is in respect to their education, technical assistance, training, and community outreach. Those are the things we try to work with the towns and citizens and business to make possible for each citizen. We're asking the town's partnership as they continue to support our programs. So specifically, we're asking assistance in the following areas: funding for a half-time staff to support operations and outreach, support for program development, including internships for high school students and college students. And note, some of these programs have already been in place. They're just needing funding to continue. We've had great success rate with them. We wanted to include a new piece, which is a job readiness module. And it's training that will allow people with disabilities, veterans, and seniors to learn more about how to use technology skills and customer service to get online jobs or just local jobs in local businesses. We know now that any job in a business can be a job if it's looked at a certain way to accommodate a person's with disabilities needs. We also want assistance with expanding our technology and assistive aid center. This center is housed in the Human Services Building at Social Services in Chapel Hill. There, we want to offer a display center of various devices for the home and work and elsewise to assist those, as aforementioned, in their endeavors to be more accessible with the business world as well as with each other. Our workshops on accessibility will continue each year. We do 4 of them pretty much with respect to affordable accessible housing, transportation, employment, and general community access. This impacts upon our local residents as well as businesses, and in part, our municipal staff and departments that serve each individual in Orange County, whether they're disabled or not. But we want to be here as a continued resource of education and training and technical assistance as it relates to the ADA, American with Disabilities Act, especially as it comes upon 35 years now. And I will commend the board here for 1991, adopting the ADA and putting it into practice and allowing the ADA coordinators to work with us to make the cities of Hillsborough, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and Orange County be accessible as possible. So with your continued support, we would surely appreciate any involvement you can give us financially and elsewise. We're there to serve you as you try to serve us. And I thank you very much. Thank you.
Kevin? Come on up.
Good evening. Kevin, and this is Carol. We're the Fairview Community Watch, and we just wanted to voice our support and appreciation of the town, the continued support of the Dorothy and Johnson Community Center. We're really appreciative of the support in fiscal year 2024. It really enabled us to launch a lot of programs, including a VITA or volunteer income tax assistance program, where we served close to 50 neighbors over this past tax season for free tax preparation. We were able to host our internship program for another year where we serve about 10 high school aged area freshmen to seniors in high school, with 3 graduating seniors this year who are now going off to UNC Chapel Hill, Durham Tech, and UNC Greensboro, some on a full scholarship. We also had our largest ever Walk Fairview Day last August, and our largest Fall Fest and Haunted House at the community center this last fall. So 2024 has been a really exciting year, and we also and additionally were able to renovate a lot of the community center, including opening a kitchen that will be able to serve a lot of cooking classes and help us have more capacity to have cooking and food at our events as well. So we're really appreciative of all the support over this last fiscal year, and we are here just to voice support for the staff's budget request for fiscal year 2025 that includes continued funding for the community center, so we can continue to see a lot of these programs grow and thrive over the next year. Yeah, that's that.
Thank you, thank you to each one of you all for supporting us and all that we have done, and we hope to continue to do within the Fairview community.
Thank you all.
Thank
very
you.
much. Heather.
Hi.
They're working.
Get to it. I'm Heather Tatar, the Executive Director for the Hillsborough Arts Council. First of all, I just wanted to say thank you so much for the town's support for all that we do. What we really focus on at the Arts Council is bringing community together through the arts. And I think it's become a real part of the identity of Hillsborough to really have these large community events that are free and open to the public. So we really appreciate your support in this. I also wanted to point out that another thing that we make sure that we are contributing to the local economies. We work with our local merchants, and we make sure that everyone is experiencing these events in a way that's going to be beneficial.
I just want to add my thanks. I'm fairly new to the Hillsborough Arts Council, and as Julia Workman, I'm the board chair. And I've learned so much about the town from Mark and from Megan and from Matt. And I really appreciate the way you all listen so carefully and make these decisions to support the community. And just a quick story, I remember when we first moved here, there wasn't a lot happening in Hillsborough. We would leave Hillsborough and go to Chapel Hill or Durham if we wanted to go out to eat or to go shopping, or to attend events. And now our community is so vibrant and has so many things where we are connecting audiences and artists, and it really brings our community alive. So thank you very much. We couldn't do it without your support. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Okay, going once, going twice. Anybody else would like to speak? Okay, thank you very much. Do we have a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you, Megan. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Next, we will go to into our fiscal year 2026 budget workshop.
Good evening, everyone. So tonight we're going to be discussing the manager's recommended budget and the requests that are included, as well as the ones that are not. So it's an opportunity for you to ask any questions that you may have. I know many of these requests you've seen over the last few years as they've steadily moved through the 3-year financial plan, as well as the 7-year CIP. And then we also talked about them at the budget retreat in March. But just wanted to make sure you have another opportunity to ask any questions that you may have. We do have staff here, so if you have any questions, they're the experts and can answer them. But the plan is to go through the document or go through the requests kind of like they were laid out in the budget document. And the agenda abstract, I think, walk through kind of the order that we would go through everything. So I want to point you to the decision points pages, which outlines sort of all the different items that we'll go through as kind of a guide. And so the plan is for each fund, we'll go through each type of request. So for example, the general fund, we'll start with personnel. We'll go around the table, ask if anyone has any questions, and then we'll move on to operating and then capital and then CIP. And then at the end, and then excuse me, and then we'll also do unfunded request. And then at the end, we'll have a chance to talk about proposed revenues and rates for each fund. And we'll go fund by fund for that. If that sounds okay with everyone,
Sounds like a good
we'll
one.
get started. All right, so starting,
You could just reference page numbers in the document as we go along, so that
Yes.
we all have notes.
yes, so the general fund decision point guide is on page 239. Give everyone a second to grab it.
At what point, because I have questions on some of the fee schedules, what point do you want to?
We'll do that at the end of each fund.
Perfect.
Two thirty-nine.
239.
Chief.
239.
Okay, I heard chief.
39. Commissioner Ferguson, would you like to get us started?
Oh, okay, let me go back.
Oh. I was asked, do you have any questions related to the personnel request?
No.
Mayor Bell?
Nope.
Commissioner Hughes?
Nope.
Commissioner Lloyd? All right, moving on to the operating request. Commissioner Ferguson?
No.
Commissioner English? No. Commissioner Garrett?
I don't think so. Sorry, I'm having a hard time. I laid out my notes differently than going on like by page than by, anyway, so no, none of them are in here.
Commissioner Hughes?
Similarly, I made my mental notes really or in a different way.
Oh, I forgot, I do have a question. But not yet.
For general government,
For all the operating requests for the general fund.
questions, no.
Okay, Commissioner Lloyd?
The parking lot improvements at the police department.
I
just want to know a little bit about
what about it? Would you be the person to speak on that, the parking lot?
There's something for Chief on.
I can speak about it. We've got a lot of like potholes all throughout our, the driveway behind annex. It's been patched up multiple times by, Public Works. And also citizens will, fly through our back parking lot. So what they're proposing is putting down a few speed humps. Because our officers will walk outside sometimes and almost have to jump back because people are flying around the corner trying to skip the stoplight and try on and church. And also it just looks, it's so old and broken up and yeah, it needs a lot of repair. And if you, as it was in there, an officer stepped out, got injured one time. And they lost her footing, so they definitely could use an upgrade or an update.
Any other questions?
Emily, I'm sorry, I'm on the Hillsborough Merchants Association. So. In the budget, it shows 15,000 being paid last year, this year. But it's a 2-year contract, 15,000, but we paid last year. I'm just trying to get clear. How much money? Did we pay last year? This year, is there a typo? Help me understand. I thought it was 15,000 for 2 years. Not 30,000 over 2 years.
Definitely more pages than,
So, let me go find it again.
116.
Yeah, 116, it talks about the 2-year partnership of 15,000 per year. But at the bottom, it shows the 24-25. There was $0, 25-26, 15,000, that's it. So at one place, it sounds like it's $30,000 for 2 years. Then other place, it's only 15,000 for the 2 years, but I do recall us, we paid some money last year, so I'm unclear. Exactly what money did we pay last year? What are we paying this year? What is the actual total expenditure of this 2 years?
I'm still pulling up just so I can make sure I answer you correctly.
Yeah.
We did pay half last year and we'll pay the other this year.
But
So
it's
it should be $7,500 this year.
except at the top, it says 15,000 per year, so that could be up to 30,000. I thought 15,000 was the cap. So I'm very unclear about where, there is clearly a typo, I just don't know where.
Just to clarify, so the funding, the first year of funding was the current year, FY 25. There was nothing last year. There was some portion paid this year. Another portion we paid next fiscal year.
But it shows,
I'm unclear on what the number is.
so on 116, it says 24-25, which would be ending right now, it shows 0.
That's
But
not right.
but we did pay something.
Yes.
And then 25-26, it shows 15,000. And at the top, in the paragraph describe request, it states a 2-year partnership in paren 15,000 per year, which would be a total of 30,000.
We'll have to get you an answer on that, but it was a 2-year commitment for 25 and 26. We'll get you an answer on that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
So we do have $15,000 budgeted for the current year, and then there's 15 proposed for next year. But we can go back and look at last year's notes just to confirm that it was supposed to be 15 per year and not 15 total.
Josh. So instead of a 2-year partnership, it's a 3-year partnership?
No, it's
2-year
here.
partnership, 15,000 each year, total 30,000.
Okay,
15 and 20.
so this year, we paid money last year, it was half of it.
No,
No, we paid 15,000 in fiscal year 25 this current year. That
Right, the one that's ending right now, so that was 15,000, and then coming next is 15,000.
So it is 15,000 per year, 15,000 in the current year.
So it's 30
15,000
grand for this 2-year.
Total request, yes.
The 15,000 for this year would show up in a special appropriation page. As part of the continuation fund, so that's where the other 15,000 is.
Okay, good, because that was gonna be a question of what that referred to too, so you just cleared up, I don't need to ask that question.
yeah, the request just showed the new amount for next year.
Gotcha, thank you.
Great question.
I think I do have some questions that I know. I went by page versus, so I gotta find it up above. And one of them, my page number is 59, so it'll be 8. Which, with the dues, the governing body dues and training, would that be what we're gonna talk about later? I know Kathleen asked about fees, but anyhow, my question was about the Women in Municipal Government Conference. I know the subscription was ×2, but not the conference. Just wondering if that's just. Before.
That was gonna be a question I had later with fees.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't sure if it was, are we talking to the governing body and. So sorry if I jumped around, but
Because it's the little confusing. Normally, I've been attending the women's in the summer.
uh-huh,
It is so close to the regional council conference board retreat, I can't do both.
okay,
It is not, the Charlotte is a typo. There's actually 2 women's conferences a year. Of which the 2,500 does not cover. So there's the summer conference, which is strictly women's. And then the fall, which is the National League of Cities Women's, it is one fell swoop. I had chosen to do this summer, just timing wise. I was going to one on that typo. I hadn't made any decision on the fall NLC conference, and I was gonna have a conversation with you about if you were interested in it Women's at national level.
Yeah, I know that I'm now a new
You're
member,
a new
so.
member of Women's of North Carolina, so they're separate entities. Women's North Carolina is associated with the league. The league is an affiliate or associated with national. And so the national women's, the state women's feed into that, the state leagues feed into NLC.
So in terms of budget, would you like to request
Um,
to increase that if needed? And if not, it's just reverse back.
I get, mainly I guess I would ask Kathleen if it's enough then, if you.
It's not enough for two.
Yeah.
So if you're interested, it needs to be
Okay.
increased, and that was one of, I was gonna ask, but just hadn't had a chance.
Okay, so yeah, sounds like possibly an increase for what you were thinking, and then possibly I'm gonna go also then. Yes.
But it would cover both of us going. in
Yeah,
other
okay,
words.
oh, okay. You're
Maybe y'all
gonna
can communicate that to Emily and.
Yeah, we can follow up afterwards to make sure we got the correct amount. And we did, Commissioner Ferguson, we did recognize or realize that typo on the Charlotte piece, and we've removed it
Yes.
since then. Yeah, thank you.
It was cool. It was Charlotte, the summers in San Antonio, I don't remember when. National.
One of the other questions I have isn't on this list in the decision points, that's what I think, yeah, they went before. So do you wanna talk about, but it is still, I think, part of the general fund. Sure. And that's the IT grant, the $100,000, would that be shown in here somewhere of us using it, or has it come through, or? That was kind of, is that, I didn't see it, yes, and maybe I missed it, or don't know where to look for it.
Yeah, that was in the current FY 25.
Okay, all right, okay, maybe that was it.
You ready to move on to capital requests?
So I have a question about the parking lot, I can't find it in here. And I have looked, I don't remember, and I read the whole thing, I don't remember seeing it.
It's on page 71. All right, Commissioner Ferguson, do you have any requests related to the capital request?
No, I do it unfunded requests.
Commissioner English? Commissioner Derrick? Commissioner Lloyd?
Which one?
The capital request?
Okay, so I'm still thinking of it, oh, no, wait a minute. Here are some things I'd like to have, but there's the money for. No. Unfortunately. We can't afford to put other money.
Turning to page 240, which is just the next page. Commissioner Ferguson, do you have any questions related to the capital improvement plan request?
No.
Commissioner English? Mayor Bill?
No.
Commissioner Lloyd? Commissioner Lloyd? Next up are the unfunded requests. Commissioner Ferguson?
Yeah, on the fire vehicles ramp up, I understand that they're being deferred. That troubles me. I look at the fire vehicles as part of taking care of what we got and being prepared. I I wish we had, I wish we had, our fire chief here, but can you talk to this? Because I'm a little nervous
Right,
about.
we're not deferring the purchases of the fire truck,
It-
deferring how we're gonna pay for it.
Yes, exactly.
So, and let me add in, what most places do is like, when we do the ramp up program, that's unusual. Most people don't start saving early and ramp up. Not many places do that. I like that. There's a lot of benefits to it, as I mentioned it in the budget message. So it's just a question to the board. How do you want to pay for it? And if you like the ramp up, we've got to figure out how we're going to either raise additional revenue or what you want to cut out of the budget to be able to accommodate that. Otherwise, as I mentioned, we've got, the expenses, which would probably be approximately FY 30 and FY 32 for the two trucks. And a lot of times debt is interesting. Like it may be if we take delivery on a truck, it could push that back 1 year. So those are the board's choices.
Yeah, it's that the ramp up to me is more fiscally sound. I'd like to hear from, thoughts from the board. I mean, I hear that a lot of people, I say a lot of people, a lot of jurisdictions don't. It's one of the things that has given me some ease that we have prepared fiscally by doing some of this ramp up, and I do understand. This is just, we've got some situations coming up, but I do want to raise that. I'd like to hear thoughts of my board members, because that's something I'm uneasy with right now. Of not saving for, and given how expensive they are now, I can only imagine what they're gonna be costing.
And so, and I may have mentioned this last Monday night when I did the presentation, when we did the retreat, we had over, like, it was a 14-cent equivalent deficit just for the continuation budget. So we did a lot of things to reduce that down, and 5.7 is higher than we wanted. But putting the brakes on the ramp ups was an option. Again, it's just how you figure out. If it comes, when the time comes to purchase fire trucks, I think that's sort of the no option plan. So, but again, you just have to choose, like, do we want to wait, see if revenues come in higher? And if things look better in the near future, then you could go ahead and pick that up. One of the benefits of the ramp up is we found over years that other smaller, lower priority items crowd out expenses. So, I mean, we're obviously like really tight on the budget, and so one option that you just raised is if there's something new that comes up on the radar, just to remind, like, hey, I would rather start funding these ramp ups of priorities or things that's taking care of what we've got options. I don't know if that helps or not.
That's one thing I have to say about fire trucks, you don't have to pay for them, you aren't paying for them until you get them. And so, they realize this, and then there's always ways of getting ladder trucks. As you know.
So, Commissioner Lloyd, are you saying, I mean, you are very close to the fire. Do you have some confidence that there's some other funding sources and there's some
No,
ways?
I just have to just like I got the ladder truck. I stayed on the developer until they contributed something.
Okay.
That's the only way you're gonna do it.
And I would also say, when we had Waterstone Development contribute $600,000 towards the ladder truck, and there was other things, with, the way the laws have changed as far as development, I'm not saying that we can't do that, but I think with the way things are in the general assembly, it's much less likely. Yeah, and I also, it seems like it's very rare that units get a grant for a fire truck.
Yeah, well, actually, that hold that thought, because, I have seen that happen with the local bill request with the General Assembly. So when we get to our legislative, I'll just put that on our list of things to consider.
I don't think so. I was told that they had never applied, that they don't apply for grants. They go to, you speak to your legislature.
Exactly. No, that's how the
But
funding
that
came
won't be-
about.
That won't be necessarily a grant. There will be something, and then there's other ways like Piedmont Electric.
Yeah.
Yes, that there are other ways.
Yeah, I knew Piedmont, but yeah, no, I know
Well,
the
they are the
town,
ones that have helped.
a couple towns that, through the legislature were granted funding.
I've yet to see that, but that's okay. I'm sure that the board will continue, the fire department will, board will, the Orange Rural Fire Department will continue trying to find money. Okay, it's a bad factor. As the time comes, I'm finished. Yeah, I'm gonna stick. Don't worry about it, Kathleen, I'll do the best I can.
I would just kind of echo what Commissioner Ferguson mentioned, and will kind of be expounded upon when we get to those sections, but it does give me a little heartburn, especially knowing how much fire trucks are going up. And like if we can save some money in the long run through the ramp up, we should, especially since we really kind of have a concrete plan for it. And I think there's things in our budget this year that are also big ticket items that I'm not so sure we have a concrete plan for. So if there is a way that we can continue as we were moving, I really like it with the fire truck and fire equipment, but I have the same concerns.
Commissioner Ferguson, do you have other questions related to the unfunded items?
Now, I can leave, can't talk, I can live with, deferring the easement. Plat.
Commissioner English?
Is that in the fee schedule you're talking about?
No, the unfunded, I haven't.
Oh,
got to
that one,
fees
sorry,
yet.
okay, all right, the sign.
Commissioner Deere?
No.
Nope.
Commissioner Boyd? Do you have any questions on the unfunded requests? So next up, we had the community reinvestment plan or program. And the budget currently has a placeholder of $48,599, which is the same amount that we funded in the current fiscal year. And we had several agencies that applied for funding for next year. And many of them have representatives in the audience tonight. And you've heard from many of them already, but so the thought was that we would go agency by agency and go around the table and just ask each board member if the request that's being made aligns with board priorities. And then when we get to the end, after we've gone through each application, then we can throw it back open to the board to discuss which agencies you'd like to fund and at what level. Does that sound okay?
And it's okay if we have some specific technical questions about the programs, we could ask those to the representatives of the organization.
Yes. All right, so we'll start with the Disabilities Awareness Council, and Dr. Miles is joining us virtually if there are any questions.
Yes, I do have questions. Because I'm looking at the budget and part of the application, it had references a budget, an operational budget of 260,000. But it also references budget for current fiscal year of anticipated budget for the next fiscal year being 39.5. I can't reconcile the 260 with the 39.5. And then I see that the requested allocation for the town of Hillsborough being 15,000 or 30%. Is typically with our, when we split funding across the municipalities, at most Hillsborough 7%, that's the typical funding formula. Although I do understand population wise, we're 4%, so I'm having a hard time reconciling a 30% or request against, and that's assuming that's against the 39.5, but I can't reconcile that again with the 260,000 budget of the next page. And along with that, I note that they don't indicate how many Hillsborough residents are being supported now. So that's multiple questions in one fell swoop.
Kathleen, remind us what page you're on.
I am looking at 243, which is the total, but the their application on 245 where they reference the budget for current fiscal year, which is 32 grand. Anticipated for next fiscal year, 39.5. But then on page 247, where they talk about planned use of funds within the organization. And I add up all of the funding from personnel operations, programming, personnel expansion, operations expansion, program expansion, other, and that is a total of 260.
Dr. Miles, are you still on the Zoom?
And to be specific, she taught, and there's someplace there's a discussion about serving Hillsborough with the technical assistance, and I know there's a program expansion of 48 grand that's associated with that, so I just cannot reconcile some of these numbers, and I'm trying to figure out how many people are being served right now in Hillsborough.
And Doris Johnson is also with Disabilities Rights Council.
Doris, if you can hear me, can you help us understand what your actual total budget is versus what the request to Hillsborough is?
Yes, I can hear you, but unfortunately, I don't have those numbers. Wendy Schwade, I think her name is. She works with Dr. Miles as far as the budget, the grants, the number of people that are served in different areas in the county. So I unfortunately don't have that information, and I thought that he was on the line, so I thought that he was going to go ahead and answer it. I'm so sorry.
I appreciate you being on the line.
Thank you. If I can ask the board, how would you like to proceed with this request if we don't have anyone here to help answer this question? Should we consider continue to the best of our ability to understand it?
I
Would you
don't
like to
feel
put a
we have.
placeholder on this.
I've got more questions than Kathleen does.
Yeah,
also.
I don't feel the application is complete. And I don't feel the information helps us make a decision. Given our funding, and our approach of making sure that we're focusing on Hillsborough, organizations with our limited funding, I want to make sure, let's focus on our Hillsborough first.
Yep.
And then if there's anything left over, we can go back and have them maybe revise their application if there's anything left. But right now, I can't,
Agreed, it's out of focus.
it's out of focus.
If I can just go around the room real quick and
Let me ask you, I'm sorry.
go ahead.
Are you saying that you want to cut disabilities out? What are you saying?
Well, right now, so we've got,
You wanna hold off and then see what they come up with?
I want to focus on first the request from Hillsborough organizations that we know are serving Hillsborough
Okay, I
residents.
understand, just
That's
give
the
them time.
focus, focus them first. Then if anything's left over, then then we can see what is left over. And if there's something left over, we would need a lot of, at least for me, a lot of clarifications. The application as submitted is incomplete. And it,
In the interest of time, does
Sorry.
everybody agree with that approach?
I would say that, let's see what comes in.
Okay, all right, well, let's move on to the next one. and see what's left in.
Next up, we have Exchange Club and we have Blair Richardson. If there are any questions. Commissioner Ferguson, we can start with you again.
so. Is this the time to ask?
I think it is.
Okay, so. I cannot get words out today. Exchange Club Park. On the request. So I've heard noises about a trail.
Yes.
Is that part of this request?
Yes, it is. It's-
Okay,
We were proposing a walking path around the perimeter of around the perimeter of the park. Excluding the ball field, of course, but it's about a quarter of a mile walking path that. I talked to Ethan Hellgood at the All Seasons Landscaping, and he said that he, in designing it, a 5 foot.
Could you come speak to the microphone? We really can't hear you. Thank you.
Oh, sorry. So I met with Ethan Hellgold, I can't pronounce his last name, at All Seasons Landscaping. And he recommended that we consider a 5 foot wide path of crushed Chapel Hill gravel that's compacted. So that it could be stroller friendly and a nice flat surface, so it'd be safe for people to walk. But when we walked around the park together, we decided that parents could see their children as we were laying it out. As they were playing, the parents could have a walk, and it could be a nice diversion. And even for the HYAA parents who are waiting for their kids to finish practice or whatever, that they could use it too. So I think the park has become a very sort of central place where people like to come and meet and we have dog groups come and train their dogs out in the park. And so we thought it was a good idea for something different. And then for future plans, maybe we could have a bridge go over the creek and then people go up into the woods and hike as they wish. I don't know that we could ever create something there, but at least it would be more accessible than it is now. But the first year is the path around, the park perimeter.
has there been discussions with the town and Stephanie on any tie-ins with our overall connectivity plan?
Years ago, when there was conversation about the town redoing the park, we talked about that access because Faribault Lane is close by, Exchange Park Lane is pretty narrow, but how we could get people through the railroad trestle or a railroad bridge is sort of the big hiccup. And our property goes to the railroad trestle, or right away, I guess is really what it is. And I don't think there's a way to go around it because there's a ravine on the other side. So, but if people came down Exchange Park Lane and they were careful about their path, they could get to the park.
Stephanie, how does this fit with Ridgewalk? And then, because it seems like there's.
I think it's important to see this as a separate request from a community group.
Okay.
Rather than as a part of our connectivity plan. I mean, certainly Exchange Club is very close to the center of town. When years ago, before we built the skate park, we had talked about some type of long-term lease or acquisition of the park so that it would become a town facility. And I think that's the time when the Community Reinvestment Fund started as goodwill. There was some tree work that needed to be done to make it safe for people. That was the first year of these funds.
Right.
And that was when we were hoping that that would be the site for the skate park. You know, after a lot of site analysis, realizing that that wasn't going to be a good site for the skate park, and with HYA's lease for the ball fields and, a number of other situations, that's when the Parks and Rec Board turned its attention to Cates Creek Park for the skate park. So currently hasn't been any discussion with the Parks and Rec Board about master planning for Exchange. It's really a private property that's open to the public.
Yeah. Okay, so this really isn't a community reinvestment as much as it's a separate allocation?
Well, it's a private property that's open to the public. Similar to what the Classical American Homes Preservation Trust lands used to be. It's not a town facility, so the town isn't really involved in planning. They are planning what they want to do with their property, but they make that property open to the public.
Gotcha.
And there's public use there, but it's not through a town initiative or vehicle.
So Kathleen, if I can bring some commentary to what I think you're asking is that if the Exchange Club is asking the town to help fund that, we want to make sure that it's in keeping with whatever we think our goals are for recreation, accessibility, and things like that. If we're being asked to help build it, maybe help maintain it in the future.
Right.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Actually, I have a question for Stephanie, since you mentioned it, it's kind of, you may recall the year, but what year was that when we decided?
It was still the big barn tents. I kept looking at
I was
those. That's all I-
I was gonna guess 10. That's a guess, but we're guessing the same, so I feel pretty.
Okay. Any other questions for Exchange Club? I'm gonna make you stand up there the whole time. If we don't.
I think it's fine. It's fine.
Just the part about just the maintenance of it, like, is this something, and I think that goes along with what you just mentioned about, is it wide enough, does it go along with something, not, I don't know if I wanna say all of our standards be imposed upon the Exchange Club, but the one thing that I guess I do think about is the maintenance costs a year to keep up the Chapel Hill Gravel. That will wash away no matter how compacted it is.
Is it in the floodplain?
Yes.
Is that yes to the floodplain? Okay, so that.
But I could speak more to it, but it is the lowest part of the property.
It is, in the last, I think it was, the worst was, right, the storm after Hurricane Fran that, we had 8 feet of water in the bathroom building. But since we have been kind of poking at the Railroad Commission to make sure they keep the culvert open, sort of one of my side jobs. We haven't had the flooding, so, you know, you never know what the weather's gonna bring these days, for sure, but, luckily, we haven't had another flood in the park.
Like, yeah, I guess that would be one of my concerns, being like 8,800 being that's. I'm sure, is there some clearing with that, or like,
That's the total estimate, that's the complete.
but does, Ethan,
Yes,
all states, is that for clearing, or is it already cleared, is it mostly just packing down this?
he's bringing in the gravel and creating, he said that what he would do is make these paths and then compact them down so that they should stay in place.
I guess I'm just trying to guess in my head what maintenance fees would be if it's all washed away. Anyway.
I got the impression it would be pretty stable, but I don't really know.
Rob, do you have any further questions?
No, I don't have any further questions. In Exchange Club Park is certainly a place where people from the town of Hillsborough, play, hang out. It's a nice kind of addition to the public parks that we operate. It's close to town. And so I have no questions.
Really, I'm starting to take over your job. That's it.
You did a great job.
You didn't wanna know what I.
Emily's directing the questions.
Do you have any questions related
So I
to?
have no questions. I think it's a very good idea. They do a lot of good for Hillsborough. And there are a lot of politicians who have bills there. And the organizations in town have bills there. I think it's a great place for children to play on a baseball field. What's the problem with this amount of money compared to some that we spend that I don't like?
Oh, there's nothing wrong. I'm just asking
Okay, let's
questions.
move on.
No, I've been a fan of Exchange Club Park since we started talking about like, but I wanted to be clear on the details.
Okay, next up, we have Fairview Community Watch, and we have Carol Morton in the audience if there's any questions. But did want to make a quick note on their application. on the, I think we noted that we did not have the tax exempt IRS letter, just wanted to let you know that we do in fact have it. And, also just a general comment, we did not include those in the packet just because it has sensitive information on it. So just wanted to let you know, we do have them in hand, but didn't, share them as part of the public packet.
So, no, I've got enough familiarity. I don't have any questions.
No, other than, you call attention to the fact that Dr. Miles appears to be back on soon, so.
Oh, good.
Hello?
Commissioner Lloyd, do you have any questions related to Fairview?
That,
Do you have any questions about the Fairview request?
no, I thought I was listening, but I thought somebody said something. No, I have nothing.
Do we want to circle back around or continue on?
I think we should keep going, then circle back to that.
All right, next up, we had the Hillsborough Arts Council and, we have representatives for them in the audience as well. Commissioner Ferguson?
No questions.
It's not really a question, I'm just curious. And we will continue to see less and less requests. So I noticed that your last year was 21,000 and this year less than that. And can we anticipate in the future that continuing to throttle down, or is that just a blip in this year's budget?
I was under the impression that there's less money available.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I was trying to scale, to meet that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I appreciate all your support. Any other questions?
First, Mayor Bell?
Yeah.
Mr. Hughes?
No.
Mr. Lloyd? Great. Next up, we have Orange Congregations and Ministry. And do want to note on their application, I think we had a note that did not list requested revenue sources, but just want to note that they did. That was just error on our part. And we do also have a representative from them in the audience as well. Commissioner Ferguson?
None right now.
Mayor Bell?
And furiously scrolling through the document to try and find it, but this is again for support of our water systems.
It is, yes.
No,
I'm thankful for them for handling.
yeah, as long as there's, I read it, that it's the same as last year. Yeah. No question.
Commissioner Hughes? Next up, we have table, and we have a representative from them in the audience as well. Commissioner Ferguson?
I'm sorry, I shouldn't have taken up on my sheet. Well, this is a little tricky because, definitely, you know, with food insecurity and what's happening at the federal level, we definitely need help for food. But I also know, our priority being Hillsborough, and we have Hillsborough food banks. With Table being out of Harborough, outside of town, I'm a little puzzled why we are seeing them as opposed to our home food banks. I'd rather see the money, if anything, for food security, support our in-town food banks before we extend into out-of-town food banks, only because I think the reverse is not taking care of our community. So I would rather see that funding. I know OCIN hasn't asked for it, but I know that they at least have a request. Their food bank, I don't see Porch. I know that is a little tricky because of, you know, ethics with board officers, executive director, and there's other food banks in town. And one of our principals is supporting Hillsborough in town entities.
Commissioner English, do you have any comments or questions?
I don't really have any comments. I mean, I don't see anything in this budget that isn't worthy of funding. Do have some reservations, this being a new request, and I don't believe it's something that we've funded in the past. But
I think my comments are that we have had conversations, maybe 2 conversations in the past year about town responsibility for providing social services, which towns don't do that. It's usually the counties that do that. And that I have expressed an interest in better understanding what Hillsborough could do, should do in the social services area. Because we've seen in other areas of social services like homelessness, that there are certain things that the county can provide, and then others where they don't provide it, the state doesn't provide it, nobody provides it. Was there an opportunity for the town to fill those gaps where possible? So food support, which I'm very passionate about, done this professionally, very passionate about food support and addressing hunger in our community. But I'm a little hesitant to how to think about funding this type of request without considering all the other social services that we may be called on to address. So yeah, I'm a little unprepared to have a firm opinion on that, but I do know that that's something that we've talked about, something I've raised awareness of, and Commissioner Ferguson has as well. So in terms of funding this request, not that I don't get to vote on these requests, but I would say that I'd be interested to know more about the cost per meal, how it's delivered, and things like that, and compare it with OCIM, which there may be others so we serve as many people as possible in the most efficient way. I think there's more research that needs to be done to be able to answer these questions. That's wordy, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So, I will start out with saying that I am the executive director of Port Hillsborough. So I should say that before talking about funding for another nonprofit that's worked in the same area. I put my notes down with my town hat though on, and a couple of things that I did have concerns about was, the request being $15,000 and 5,000 of that going to staff, 10,000 going to, I'm assuming to the, almost direct, and being a 33% overhead. That was something that I questioned, especially when I compared it to what I saw the Orange County Board of Commissioners is, what their recommended funding for table is also. It just didn't seem, I think earlier, Kathleen, you brought up that if you go by population, Hillsborough is usually like a 4% or 7% if we were paying for something, and it's just, when I see the county commissioner is looking at 27,000, but then our board's asked for the 15,
It's a little out of whack.
it is, yeah. And then with that overhead, also I went to the amount. I know that the representative Laura Dill, I believe her name was, she sent a message to us saying there was actually 52 kids in Hillsborough. And when you do that per year calculation, it just it looked a little high. So I actually am questioning if that's not really what covers 52 kids. I'm feeling like that number could be a lot less. So anyhow, those are my concerns. Oh, actually, one more. I will say that when I went to their website to sorry, when I went to the website to check out their website, they don't list any of our Hillsborough pantries. That was something that I thought OCIM, Port Hillsborough, and the other locations in town here should be listed.
Yeah, they don't serve, well, I won't say they don't, but there's not any focus on Hillsborough as opposed to, we have other food pantries, food banks that are located and serve our community.
So those were my notes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yeah, so I think a lot of the comments are, thoughts I have. I'll admit, I don't do the. How much are they asking from other governments and does it jive? Because to me, we're not. Signing an interlocal agreement that lays that out and it may not be, fully fair, but. You know, I do look at the, relatively low number of families. I did ask Laura some questions. I'm not sure if she copied everyone on them or not. It was off my email by the time I think she may have sent that, but to answer your question, they partner with the Food Bank of Central and Eastern North Carolina. And it appears some connection with Porch, I assume, the Chapel Hill Porch, as well as IFC. So no real, not working with OCIM and whatnot up at this end of the county. But I don't question the need of a program like this. I do question, a $15,000 request with a nearly $3 million budget next year. I know working for a nonprofit that reaches out for grants, that, 15,000 isn't in the drop in a bucket when you're talking about millions already. And I don't think that by not funding this request, will put them in a difficult position. It's just, I'm just not convinced that the how's the phrase go? The bang is worth the whatever. Can't remember that.
You said the word squeeze. Yeah.
Well, we'll go with that one. Is the juice worth the squeeze? I think it would put a lot of squeeze on us. And try and figure out the other, how we want to use the rest of the funds. And I'm not too sure that the community gets more out of it, especially since I do believe that the towns, whenever possible, should start taking up things that I think the county should, or art or social service in nature.
Thank you. Commissioner Wood?
I think there's a need for it. If it needs to be cut 5,000, that would be, we can use the 5,000 for something else. That would be fine.
Do we want to circle back around? With facilities, we're doing that tonight, or are we following up with them afterwards?
Yes, if. Dr. Miles, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so, this is Kathleen Ferguson, and Mr. Ferguson speaking.
Yes, I'm here.
I am trying to go through your budget, so I'm looking to see, look at your budget and you have it looks to be a 260,000 total operating budget. Is that accurate from what I can see in your application?
Our budget usually includes everything all together, so no, so not total operations is staff, programs, all in one.
Right, but that's the $260,000, correct? You
Yes.
mentioned, okay, great, thank you. I know that there's notes in here that you're asking for 50,000. And you mentioned that it's primarily serving Hillsborough through technology, but it looks like the technology, there's a $48,000 increase to that program. That if I understanding that you're asking Hillsborough essentially to fund close to 30%, depending on numbers. I'm looking at either 30% or just under that. Is that accurate?
That's accurate. It's under that.
So so I know that you can't tell us how many Hillsborough residents are currently receiving services now. Can you tell us now? Do you have that number handy?
Uh, it's undetermined, but out of 100%, if you did it percentages based upon Chapel Hill, Carborough, and Hillsborough all together with Orange County, it's about 25% or a little under that. And I'm basing that upon the years of service and what's been currently going on since COVID.
So you're saying 25% of the, wait, hold on, let me back up. So of the number of people being served, you're saying 25% of the number of people served are from Hillsborough?
Yes, or a little bit under that. Like you could, if you want to be safe about it, we could say 15%.
15%.
Yeah, and this would be out of the total 100 and some thousand population. I got a number for the disabled population. It's in Orange County. And of that, Orange County, when I say Orange County, I'm including all the cities, all the municipalities, and Orange
Right.
County itself. Okay, good, all right. So if you just did 100%, then of that 100% of all the population, then about 15 to 20% would be the service of Hillsborough portion.
That's interesting because we have 4% of the total population in the county. So
I think, Commissioner Ferguson, and I think I understand what, Dr. Miles is suggesting.
okay,
Is that it's really, if you look at it from the standpoint of zip code,
Yes.
which I know the municipal boundaries are a lot smaller than that, but if you look at the county population by zip code, 27278 is close to the number that Dr. Miles mentioned.
okay, that makes sense. So you're using the zip code and not the town limits. Got it.
Right, yes.
So town limits, so the zip code is not, the zip code is different from town limits. So I just want to note that. And it's the first time you've come to us in decades. Can you give us a little background on, why you're coming to us now?
When there was a shift or something going on in Hillsborough, and they stopped the funding. That should be in your record somewhere.
Well, I know I've been on this board for 12 years and you haven't been funded in my tenure. But I'm curious, we just haven't seen him and what's prompting coming now. So if you can just share a little bit.
Well, two pieces. We were funded with Mayor Mayor Horace Johnson up until
Okay.
his time. After that, there was a change of some sort where they stopped funding everybody. There was no more money left. And that time went on, so we went on and did other things as best we could. Then we just recently found out this year when we had to ask every entity for an increase because of the growing number of people being served. Most importantly, the cost of living itself went up. And it took more to do more with running programs, hiring staff, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so, and then with the expansion of the idea of a center that would house devices for people with disabilities to use in home, work, education, whatever, whether it be talking software, talking watches, or whatever it is. We were going to create a center in the social services building where they could come and be taught how to use their devices, how to use technology in our technology center. We have terminals there, and that costs more to put that on.
Okay.
So that should explain the increase and the reason we're coming back. Like I said, and we didn't know that you had started refunding people. We didn't know that. We were just waiting to hear back from the town of Hillsborough that funding was back up again.
So you're talking about the Southern Human Resources Center in Chapel Hill?
Yes, or the Substance and Human Services Building, yes.
Yes, okay,
Social
so
services.
that's,
We're in it now, and we've
You're
gotten
in-
part of the way. We're setting up the center, but it's not complete.
gotcha. Do you work with Tammy Lynn or with Club Nova?
we partnered with both of them. And
Okay.
RSI and who else? I can't remember all the names. It's a whole bunch of them we partner with. CASA.
CASA for housing?
Yeah, because we do affordable housing piece, but we went further than that. At the covert, we had our volunteers and even people with disabilities helping people who had just become homeless that were disabled, going out and looking for places for them to stay, filling out applications, helping them get to the food bank, bringing them food from our food bank thing we do. Because it's basically everything we do is in home if we can, and the same day service as much as possible. The remote part has helped a lot too, but as we found out in COVID, a lot of people were still cut off just from not being able to use their devices.
And are you working with CEF?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of your major areas there are aware of who we are, and we partner either by referrals or we may do a project together. It just depends on what's going on at the time and who's available.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, again, this is something which is it's based out of Chapel Hill. The percentages are out of whack. I'd rather vote again, our remit is to make sure that we are supporting Hillsborough residents and, the Hillsborough entities. What I'm hearing is certainly of interest to learn more about them, but at least all the years I've been involved with this is some of this I'm hearing for the first time, which I'm kind of surprised.
Well, it's pretty well documented. You can talk to the county commissioners.
Oh, I don't doubt it at all.
And we just apologize. We didn't know that you had started funding again. We just didn't know. And we can't just be stuck on looking for one place. When you guys said you couldn't, we started looking at other places to try to find funding.
No, understood. But in terms of for Hillsborough, our commitment is supporting the town. Knowing that there's, that I mean, there's entities we don't see on this budget or haven't asked for money, which frankly, I expect to hear from them as the feds continue their. And, I'd rather, even if it holds back a little bit of our funds, to be able to support those coming requests in reserve. But I would still go back to our premise and focus on Hillsborough entities.
Next question, years ago, in a budget retreat, I think I talked about a simple tool to prioritize them signing a 1, a 2, or a 3. And in this case, I would invite everybody to think about these requests. 1 is where it's completely aligned. They're in Hillsborough. We know they're serving Hillsborough residents. And 3 is, it's an organization that's not in Hillsborough, and it's a little vague about how many Hillsborough residents actually being served. So 1, 2, or 3, and 2 is the middleware. So what I hear you saying is definitely not a 1. Maybe it's a 2, but maybe it's a 3.
I'm hearing right now a 3.
Okay. How about we keep going around the table in the interest of time? We've still got 2/3 of the budget to go through. Ron, would you?
Sure.
I'm taking your.
I'm torn with this because, both, I've been around, individuals with disabilities and worked with them my entire life. Both my parents were also in the disability field, and it's something that's near and dear to my heart. But at the same time, the application that you put forward, I feel doesn't give me enough information that we are truly serving people in Hillsborough. And so I have a little bit of reluctance to fund something that I don't know enough about. I'm all about the cause. I'm just not confident that, that it's meeting the needs that we're looking for in terms of really serving, individuals from the town of Hillsborough. And it's, you know, it's a really tight year for everything, and I'm just a little bit hesitant at this point. I encourage you to, you know, to continue to apply for funding from the town of Hillsborough, because, we will entertain, you know, most causes, but, I think in the application has to be a little clearer in terms of, how many people, are truly benefiting from the service and how, and that's just where I still have some questions.
Mirabel?
Yeah, I'll make two quick points. One is that, along the lines of what Commissioner English said, I've lived with somebody with a disability for 32 years, so I get this. The second thing is I want everybody to know that, this comes up at least once a week for me as the mayor. That when you look on a map, Hillsborough NC 27278 encompasses about 30,000 people in Orange County, but the town is only 10,000. So the town limits do not equate to the zip code and the address of Hillsborough NC 27278. And it comes up very frequently. There's a belief that a resident with that address is wanting services. The town does not have the resources to fund people who live in unincorporated Orange County or townships in Orange County that are outside the town limits. So I'm sorry to have to bring that up again and again in our various discussions, but the reality is Hillsborough, the town is small compared to the zip code, and we have to take care of what is ours, and we sometimes don't have the authority to do things or spend money outside of the town limits. So that's why we focus on that a lot. And so I think it'd be important for any organization going forward, when you want to measure your impact to us in funding, that we don't need to know the addresses of the people you serve, but you have to be able to demonstrate to the town that these people actually do live in the town limits. And that makes it, you know, so much easier for us to decide how to allocate these very scarce budget resources. That's all.
Thank you. I would double some of those sentiments it's already made. It's, I've looked at your website. It's a lot of good information and education that you're providing to the community. But I also was questioning how much is it actually impacting Hillsborough residents. Another couple of things, I think, I don't need the answer now, just something to think about, because I believe I would put this as a 3 for me. But something that I would like to know more about the organization is, do you need to be a member to get these services? That was something that I saw online. Is that like a step that has to happen? I also noticed some of the events had a cost. Wasn't sure if there would be any free events, and if we were to fund, would they be free events, or would people still have to pay for them? And then also all of the events seem to be in Chapel Hill and Carrboro, and just trying to get Hillsborough residents there seemed like a hurdle. And I'd rather see some events in Hillsborough to really be sure that we're getting Hillsborough residents. I really don't need the answers for those. They're just something that in the future that's expanded on or thought about in your programming. So, thank you.
Can I say something, please?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say that I hear everything everyone's saying, but we've reached out to every person in each town, and so everything that goes out goes to every city and everybody that's in our roster. And then whatever the public and social media that we use. The other challenge with Hillsborough is getting people from one point to another with transportation, because a number of them are disabled. And Ms. Johnson could speak to that. She's on as well. But that's one of the greatest challenges. We've tried it so many ways over the last 20 years to host things there in Hillsborough. And to our luck, we did the library there and had several events there as well. But it's just where we can get the most people to come to and provide them with transportation is how we try to do it. And we always offer a scholarship Part of posting on some things that are costly is because when you send things out that are free, people will say they come and they don't come. And I've talked to staff in Orange County and Chapel Hill and Carborough that from working with the Chamber of Commerce, they said when people pay something towards something or volunteer maybe in some respect, then that has more value to them than if you just make it free because they may not come. And then you wasted all your time setting up, spending money, and that's a waste to you too right there if they don't show up. So we went a step further to even offer programs for people who can't get there. Everything we do now is virtual. We go live and we do Zoom. So there is a way to connect through the through those various portals. And also we work directly with the social worker for the blind there in Hillsborough who sends our information out to the residents. I think again with the residents, if they're blind or some other way challenged, it's just a matter of figuring out how to get them there. And if they want to come and go that lag of time, because what could be an event for us could be an hour and I guess 2 hours at the most. If you start out on paratransit, you could start out spending your day to get to an event that's 2 hours and spend half the whole day making it 6 hours. So that becomes a challenge for some people too, which is why we open up the social media portal. But I think we hear what you're saying, and we've done what you've asked. Maybe it's another way to capture some of those numbers, but our presence is known in Hillsborough as well as the other cities. And so being funded before by Hillsborough, I'm sure they had the same questions, but it was about question how people come to us and how we help them, whether it's online or in person or elsewise. So I appreciate all the conversations. And regrettably, we didn't have much extra assistance in putting the application together for the first time, because in the past, it was like maybe 5-page application from Hillsborough. And like I said, we just didn't know that you guys had started funding again. And it was said that we should reach out to you again because part of our population we serve is Hillsborough. So thanks for listening to me.
Thank you. Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah. One of the things I would just say is, obviously about 30% of Americans identify as someone with a disability. Not every disability is a visible disability. I think we often think about disabilities in terms of being blind or deaf or
right.
Having mobility issues. That being said, I think, if I was to rank this 1, 2, 3, I think this is a 2 for me. I think that Dr. Miles, your observation about finding ways to capture more data, I think would definitely help make these types of decisions and funding requests if we had an approximate number. But I think also if we have an organization, not just this one, but any organization that's looking to, kind of up the activity, the footprint of what they're doing, then it's kind of hard to want to see that as a precondition to giving money when it takes money in order to do that. So I think that, with some additional context on dollar figures and that sort of thing, that would be, I think, really, really helpful. Because there are so many folks who, who identify with being disabled in the community. So, that's
Commissioner Lloyd?
I think, I agree with him. There are several people who have various and sundry disabilities. I would give it a 2 as well. Else, if you give it a 2, if you paid it $5,000, the same. I would agree with him. A 2, not a 3. I wouldn't put it out except all together. If that's what you want, you just say.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you. Commissioner Hughes?
Yeah, and I also want to say, thank you also, Dr. Miles. I was going through my emails just now. That's kind of why I had a mental blip, but back in December of 2020, you all reached out to us with a report on the accessibility of our town website. And as it follows the guidelines of section 508 of federal law. And I can't speak with authority, but when we redid our website recently, I hope a lot of those suggestions went into it. I think our website is a lot more accessible and that sort of thing. And so I just want to say that that was a service that we received from this organization 5 years ago without request about the accessibility of town government on the internet.
Well, I'm glad you're able to point that out because that is one of the things we do. But just remember too that when I go to experts and ask them for their opinion on how to put things together, all those things cost aside from my time as well as a professional in the field. This request, please note, you probably already do, that it's just not for you, it's for all the entities that we try to serve. So it's a combined effort to ask everybody to help out because one of the great things that Mr. Hughes mentioned about the hidden disabilities or the other ones is the numbers for unemployment, which is a key thing we push in Orange County Awareness Council, Disability Awareness Council, is that we still are standing at 75% unemployment rate amongst people with disabilities out of the national unemployment rate just for North Carolina alone. So that's disheartening when you live in a city for over 20 or 30 years, be educated, and you still can't find a job. And then when you find a job, you really can't get to it, or the cost to get to it takes up so much from your paycheck that it's almost not worth going to work. But I assure you guys tonight, every single citizen that we've come in contact that we know of, and the general population for those with disabilities, they want to work. They want to do everything that you can do for if you're not disabled, and then some. So we there at the council who have worked, became disabled, or are still looking for work and trying to work, we put our heads together and said, with the help of the county commissioners and your former mayorships and things like people of that caliber, to say that there has to be a resource there that advises those who make the decisions about policy, rules, funding, and all. And that became us in 1991 when the ADA was started. So I say it as gingerly, as kindly, as and humbly as I can. Whatever you can do would be helpful to help us move forward, especially when we go to other bigger organizations. When I say organizations, I mean philanthropy organizations, and ask for funding, and they look at the people we serve, and we don't have enough support to hit the ground running. It speaks volume of the value of what we do and how we do what we do, and is it worth it to each entity to have us help you make the best choices for all people concerned, because you're correct, all of you. This issue affects everybody in some kind of way. And we do understand the challenges that everybody has to face right now. But we've been facing this for a while. And Ms. Johnson and I, we tried feverishly to figure out how to get it done.
Yeah, thank you. I'm sorry
You're
to have
welcome.
this
I'm sorry.
conversation, but we have a long ways to go in the budget discussion tonight. So
Okay,
if I can summarize what I heard tonight regarding these requests, that there's consensus on the Exchange Club, Fairview Community Watch, Hillsborough Arts Council, those CIM, but there's not consensus on the priorities of the Disabilities Awareness Council and TABLE. How, Emily, what guidance do you need from us to be able to kind of fine tune what our budget is and versus how much is being requested and for which of these projects? How can we help you come up with the number to see if that's within our budget or not?
So I just did the the quick math on the four agencies that there was consensus on, I think it's like 47,362, so it falls within the amount that's currently the placeholder budget. So if we wanted to fund those four at the level that they were requested, that would be within the budget, the amount that's currently placed in the budget. If we wanted to fund the other two agencies, that would be on top of, in addition, we need additional funding for that.
And how much is left over from the proposed budget with the four organizations mentioned? You just mentioned 47, but I didn't write it.
It's like, yeah, $1,237.
Is there a recommendation from the board how to proceed?
I mean, I would like us to certainly, fully fund, Exchange Park, Fairview, the Arts Council, OCIM. That 1237 left over, I would like to hold as a placeholder. Or, potentially divide it between the four, but I am more comfortable holding it as a placeholder through the year, as we'll probably get something.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. Other thoughts? We're in agreement with
Yeah, I
fully
think that
fund?
is a good idea. Hold it.
I heard from two of you. Fully fund the four, is that an agreement? Okay, what to do with the leftover funds?
Well, I would say, sorry, I was flipping back to my notes. I think that one of the things that is a good thing that when we went through our new process, having a policy, thank you, Jen, for being our Sherpa through that sometimes painful process of really going through line by line, period by period on that. But we decided to have a more public process, to be more transparent, to open it up. I wasn't surprised that we now have an entity that hasn't asked for funds from us before. I will say in doing so, we still saw most of the same folks apply, even though I know there were info sessions and that sort of thing. So I don't think it was for lack of trying on our part. I will say that the Exchange Club one gives me heartburn. If we have been giving funds for 10 years, it seems like it will be in perpetuity. I think we need to have the conversation again as to whether or not that's a town-owned park. Because I'm personally not in favor of, you got it last year, you're gonna get it this year, then after 10 years, it does become an expectation that that's what you're when there could be a lot of worthy organizations, and thankfully we don't have to make that decision this year, but next year we could have to make that decision of not funding someone for an additional year. So, for the basic maintenance and operation as the park is today, I have no problem with. But I'm personally not willing to fund it at $11,562.
Exchange Club.
Yes, that's right.
Considering that was only the only park, the only place to play baseball or so, I guess baseball for a while. I can think, there was no place, so that they have stood through these years and if you needed a place to go. Or say if the fire department wanted to have a Christmas banquet there, they usually could. If things like that, there were places where people could go. And I think it's worthwhile, the people who who've worked through that through years. It would be a shame not to fund them. I think it would be only fair to fund it. Cause that whatever the amount was, I can't even, I got the headache so bad now. That I can't see. And how about passing me something to eat over here, please? And so I say leave it.
Okay, thank you. Matt, may I ask you a question? In terms of the funding amount, what is your recommendation? I'm not sure I gleaned what you said. Is it the amount from last year minus the trail improvement?
I'm sure.
We got it.
Yeah, so it's actually the first two program service areas would be the quarter mile walking path, and I don't believe the town should be able to look for an organization's liability insurance.
Yeah, and what your proposed amount is,
If this is, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, et cetera, it would be the 8,800 and the 1,373. Which cut it down to literally hundreds of dollars. If they want to come back with a different proposal, I'd be happy to consider it, but I do not want to give $8,800 for the quarter mile trip. Or the 1373 for liability insurance. We're on paid liability insurance. It should be because we own it.
okay, very quickly, so we can maybe come to conclusion on this, yes, first.
So I'd like to try to fund all the people that have requested funding. So I'd like to make a proposal. I'm fine with funding the Exchange Club Park of, what we funded last year, which was $7,599. And all the other requests, since they are all, at what was last year's level or lower. And that leaves us with 5163, including the 1,200. I mean, my math might be wrong, but I would say whatever's left over that we would split between the Disability Awareness Council and table, or give it all to the Disability Awareness Council and the table.
How much on the Exchange Club?
I was 75 now, so same funding as last year. So basically, it's everybody at the same funding level as last year, with the exception of Hillsborough Arts Council, which is asking for less, which is great.
But we don't know table is, they're based out of Carborough.
Yeah, I'm not so necessarily that
Supporting
favorable,
Carborough.
but the cause is.
Oh, I mean, then absolutely that we've got, anything we can do to help with food insecurity, absolutely, but. Their focus is not Hillsborough. And we do have Hillsborough. I really do want to save a little bit in reserve. Because we do know food insecurity is gonna get worse with what the feds are, but I would like to be able to be in a position to support Hillsborough organizations, whether it's OCIM or churches, OCIM. I don't mind, a little bit of the 5163 going to Disabilities Awareness Council. But I really want to see some held in reserve. So I would say split it. But the 5163 split in half, I don't want to fund to table. It's not a Hillsborough, I don't have confidence there's support in Hillsborough.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm lost on the first part. How did you get to the conclusion?
So, building on Rob's of the continuation of 7599, because I do agree with Commissioner Hughes of not funding liability insurance. But if the leftover is 5163. Well,
October is 5,200.
5200. Okay.
What to do with the leftover 52?
Right.
Not, that's a question.
So of the
What to
50,
do?
but of the 5200. Splitting it in half. Reserving half of one half and the other half disabilities awareness.
Oh, and the other half to reserve.
Right.
Gotcha, thank you. Yeah, I have a feeling we're gonna go with 5 different recommendations. And I just want to make sure we understand what these 5 proposals are, and then Emily, I'm gonna suggest that we'll let you percolate on that, because we're not making any, we're not passing a budget tonight, we're just, discussing and hearing what you come back with proposals. There needs to be some more math done on this too.
I'll be honest with you, I wanna give OCIM more money than they've asked for. Because their food pantry desperately needs the funding.
Yes,
Can I have one comment real quick? On each of the applications, there is a question that asks like, what's the minimum level of support that you would receive that makes your request like a viable option? And so I just wondered for Disabilities Awareness Council, 10,000 was the amount they put as their minimum. And for table, it was 15,000.
Yeah, in that case,
Some is better than none,
yeah.
but yeah, I saw that.
Thank you. Megan, what's your final offer?
I should feel like it, I don't wanna add another mix to it. The Exchange Club Trail, I thought it sounded like a great idea until I learned about it being. That's my biggest concern about that now is, and then kind of build off what, what's that?
The Riverwalks are there.
Yeah, but it's paved.
That's true, true.
I mean, like, I'll tell you right now, I've got Chapel Hill gravel and I replace it. A lot of my neighbors got a path of it, she replaced, like, comes across the street. So, and then, as Mr. Hughes mentioned about this going into perpetuity, are we always gonna be replacing this every 2 years? I don't know, I envisioned something that wasn't gonna wash away. I was thinking, okay, well, they must have found a level spot, it might be. Anyhow, that's my biggest concern, but. Anyway, the continuation, continuing it from 75.99. Yes, it's okay to me to do that also. The other 3, I'm completely good with: Fairview, Hillsborough Arts Council, and OCIM. So I think I'm going back and forth between the 5,200, keeping that in reserve. For another organization, after you brought up. You know, we do have the Disability Awareness Council on the line, is 6,200 worth. Giving to them, I'm sure.
Percolate on that later.
Yeah, let's hear the other options.
Thank you. Matt, I think we have your.
I was just gonna say, Rob was making a motion, I seconded it, so, pretty similar to my back of the napkin map, with some deviation mostly for the, that's for your Disabilities Awareness Council, but pretty much the exact same. All.
Okay, and I'm sorry.
I thought we were I thought we were not motioning, I thought we were. Okay, I was like, well,
You
wait a
find
minute.
the second over here.
So Matt, just to be clear, so fund, Fairview. Fairview Arts Council, OCIM 100% Exchange Club.
That last year.
At last year's, and what to do with the remaining balance.
The balance is what I struggle with. I would. Propose something. I do wonder about splitting hairs too finely that, what's left over is 5,200. Something is better than nothing, as Commissioner English said. I don't know necessarily if asking for 15, saying you only can get by with 10, but here's 2,600 is the most efficient thing to do, especially since I'm not really sure what we did with 2,600 or $2,600 of an unexpected request at the same time either. So at that point, I would say 5,200 to the Disability Awareness Council is pretty much what I would say at that point.
Thank you. And Evelyn, just to make sure that I understand what your preferences are
I still want the Exchange Club Ireland that,
at the full amount of this requested.
for what it, for the 11,562.
Okay, and what about Fairview Community Watch?
Leave it. Yeah, because,
They've asked for 10,000.
and so what is everybody saying?
To fully fund
Leave it in.
Fairview Arts Council and OCIM at their full requested amount, which are 10,000, 15,800, and 10,000.
OCIM should say, I don't know what ours says, but I think ours, OCIM should say. If not, no, if not, I'll be at 3,000.
Well, did you get all that?
I'm gonna repeat back what I have and you can correct me where I go wrong here. All right, so I have, one option is to, fund the four at the levels requested. Except for the 5,200 that's left over. Wait, that's not right. So I'm already going wrong.
So there was,
Yeah.
there was one option for all levels. Then there is an option of 3 of the requested levels and 1 at last year, so. Which, if you do that, you end up.
Two. And that was gonna be, so that option had the half of it being put in reserve and half of it going to Disability Awareness Council.
That was one option,
One
and then
option.
the other is the whole shebang goes
Goes to
over to.
Okay, and then the third option. My notes are starting to run together here.
I think that's
So
it.
I think you're really close, and I will commit what I've written in note form into a
Okay.
spreadsheet that I'll send to you.
That'd be great.
And is it appropriate and acceptable to the board that at the budget hearing, then we will come to an agreement on what the final answer is for these amounts? After you've had time to process it and send it back out for reflection.
Sounds good.
Okay.
Thank you. We did. All right. Well, next up is we have the affordable housing. Matt's gonna guide us through that discussion. You may have just sat down for a second. Opportunity to come back in.
Well, if you don't mind, let's take a 3-minute break. Got stand.
And I think the water is starting to, I need to go pay rent. We should.